got to listen to a podcast this morning that was really interesting when I was at the gym. The fellow I was listening to was talking about The Princess Bride and the undercurrents of the movie. Now, if you're familiar with The Princess Bride, this should be a very easy conversation to listen to. If you don't know the movie, you should really go out and watch the movie. It's a very good movie. But I'm not gonna go through all the undercurrents. This guy did a great job in his video. I feel like I'm robbing a bit if I do too much of his material. But I will say the interesting point that he brought up that I guess I kind of knew, and when he thought of it, I'm like, oh yeah, of course I knew that. But the depth to which he took it was really interesting. And this is the battle between Wesley and Vizzini at the, when Wesley catches up to Vizzini and Vizzini's got the knife to the princess's neck, and Wesley says, well, we'll do it. Vizzini says, I can't match you for skill or for strength. You've beaten my giant, you've beaten my swordsman, but you'll never beat me at the I'm just going to outsmart you. And Wesley says, well, all right, so it's a challenge of intelligence, a challenge of the wits. So he puts out the two goblets and he says he's put iocane powder in one of them, and iocane powder is deadly, and yada yada yada. So Vizzini thinks he's going to outsmart him by figuring out which one. Eventually he swaps the two while Wesley's not looking, and he drinks, and he dies, because what Wesley was smart enough to do was to put iocane powder in both, and Vizzini dies, but Wesley had built up a tolerance to the poison, so he was fine. That is an instance of where someone, and this happens all the time in the regular world, people who think themselves to be extremely smart, and they are probably smart in their area, they accept the idea that you've got to choose one or the other. Oh, that chicken's outside the fence. I could totally take that chicken home with me. They accept that you can either Coke or Pepsi, right? Coke or Pepsi, Coke or Pepsi. Republican or Democrat, Republican or Democrat. You know what? You can drink water. You don't have to drink Coke or Pepsi, right? The buying into the idea that you're either with us or against us, right? You're either one or the other. It was a downfall of Vizzini. He just go ahead and there's another chicken right there. We're down in red. I get distracted by chickens often because I miss my chickens and we don't have them any longer. Buying into the concept that there are two choices and they are polar opposites and you've got to choose one or the other causes the death of Vizzini, and it causes the mental death or the mental crippling of so many other intelligent people in the world. Now, you may think yourself not one of them, and hopefully you are not one of them, but it is difficult to live in this world any longer the way that we're bombarded with Fox or CNN. You know what? They both kind of suck. Republican, Democrat. Well, you know what? Both parties are corrupt. That doesn't necessarily mean that I don't believe in any kind of government. That doesn't necessarily believe that I don't believe in any kind of news story from either one of those sources. But the ability to discern or break away from the idea that I believe everything this party says or everything this news center says, or I believe that only Pepsi is what's good for you, or Chevy Ford. Do Chevy Ford. There's another divide where they try to break us all apart. How about riding a bike? He says while driving around his Ford truck that he absolutely loves. I want to hear from you, Chevy guys. It's just an interesting part of The Princess Bride that I hadn't really recognized. I think that, again, he does a whole bunch of other great breakdowns. The other really entertaining piece is the idea of Inigo Montoya standing up for himself, like asserting himself in a way that people just don't do any longer. You know, when chased down by a bully, so many people just back down and just let the gut wound that they've received, or from the thrown knife, bleed them out, and they're not going to fight back. But Inigo Montoya has a what's the word I'm looking for? His power of phrase? No, it's his rallying cry, right? Like, hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father, prepared to die. Is the thing that gives him strength, and he says it louder and louder, and the bully, the six-fingered man, tells him, stop saying that, and he's like, no, I'm not going to, or he doesn't, he just keeps on repeating his phrase, and it gives him the strength and the power to push back at people who are consistently, at this bully who's consistently railing on him, right? Having that inner core belief, that strong belief. Now, he's motivated by revenge, which is something that I I suppose I would not necessarily endorse as a way to get motivated, but having that inner strength, that inner belief, that core understanding of this is what I'm about is a powerful thing as well. And that's the other part of the movie that he spoke about. Yeah, actually, the video, and I want to link you to the video, but I'm not going to because a lot of what he says otherwise, I think probably has a lot of friction points for my young audience, so I'm not going to do that. But that is how The Princess Bride reflects back at us, our lives, in our society. That movie was written how many years ago? And I think that at the time it wasn't quite so obvious how two opposing factors. It was probably much more subtle back then, or we just weren't very attuned to it. But I think now anymore, it's hard to ignore the idea that really they're trying to push you into one definition or the other that are polar opposites to each other. And people like myself and hopefully others out there are coming to recognize, you know what, there's a wide range of gray in there. Go ahead and say non-binary. For some things, I think that for a majority of things, I would say non-binary is the actual truth. So that's kind of what I'd like you to keep in mind as I wrap this up. Okay, if you liked that video, if it was informative in a very barely talking about it in any kind of depth kind of way, go ahead and like and share this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so, and check out the t-shirt store. There are more going up every day. Cheers. All right, so I'm going to show my shirts and your shirts.
Okay.
And
wait, but they don't know what.
I think they can tell whose are whose.
Yeah.
So they could buy the new Gorilla versus Grizzly.
Yeah, they could buy that, which is your first fighting one.
Right, or they could buy your Captain Marshmallow.
And my Thanos.
Thanos Walker.
Yeah, that's true.
We'll see which ones they buy. Thanks for visiting the store.
Thanks. Hello. Bye-bye.